great Bobby Belt.
RJ Choppy here. I'm back, baby.
I watch more football than you do.
Below the belt with Alberto, who hopefully is back tomorrow from the first half sickness over the way the Cowboys started off this game, trailing 21-7 at halftime. But we all know what happened, especially in Filthy and those loser elementary school kids who are hopefully at school crying today, or maybe they're out for the entire week and they have to be home with their miserable parents crying as well. It's Shan and RJ on a Cowboys Victory Monday after the comeback win on DFW Sports Station. Star up to Osa, the D-line, and the defense. And I just decided in the last minute or two, I think the defense needs an entire segment dedicated to them. We'll get to Brian Schottenheimer and his fourth down decisions. And was he actually a hindrance to winning this game, our Friday friend, at 8:20? But we got to be fair. Osa, some light has clicked in the past two games, and maybe that light is called Quinnen Williams. He had the Cowboys' only sack. He chased down Hurts on third down. That sack was on third down. They chased down Jalen Hurts along with Clowney on a third down as well. We gave you the Quinnen Williams numbers as he sat there and created a career-high 8 pressures on 30 pass rushes. All of them came on one-on-one matchups. He was double-teamed at the second lowest rate of this season. Why? I presume because you have Kenny Clark. Because you have Osa Odigizua. Because the Eagles' O-linemen afterwards were pointing to the Cowboys' usage of 5-man fronts as a reason for struggles in the run game, with Saquon Barkley doing nothing. Landon Dickerson, that's how you say it, Tom Brady, said Dallas has not shown many odd fronts this year, and it was not something they had spent too much time on task practicing for. So a little bit of an unexpected change-up. Defensively, and Matt Eberflus running up and down, going crazy about his D, had Brian Schottenheimer also praising them for this light switch that has all of a sudden clicked.
Yeah, incredible, right? I think, you look at the run stats, Ed, I'll start there. I mean, what we were able to do to Saquon, who is arguably the best back in the league, and I think he had 10 for 22 or something like that. But they just kept playing, man, and didn't have great pass rush today. I felt that, it looked like Jalen was back there quite a bit, but man, the tackling I thought was really, really good. We did a really good job on third down, and they're the ones that kind of jump started us, and we were, of course, able to get the touchdown right at the end of the first half. That was big to cut it to 21-7 and give us a little bit of momentum. But it's two weeks in a row they've played really, really well, and you can see the confidence in that entire group.
At one point, they buckled down and gave up. Now, it ended up being 8 straight stops, but the 5 straight stops only saw 42 total yards for Philadelphia. And Choppy, over those final 8 possessions, Matt Eberflus's defense held the Eagles to 107 yards and 7 first downs in those 8 possessions.
Yeah, Philly's offense can absolutely go into a
tailspin.
A tailspin is a good word. Like they can just stall out. They really just stall out, and sometimes they hurt. Like they hurt themselves at the end, but there are other times like they weren't hurting themselves. They were just bad. They were just not doing anything. They were completely stalling, and that I think is actually going to be what keeps them from winning. I don't think they can keep up with the Rams.
And this has been A.J. Brown's point.
Yeah, it has.
It's been his point,
and he's right. Like that's a really good defense. Now the defense in the second half didn't do their job for them. Like their defense, now it came up with that goal line stand, prior to that, but it allowed them to, allowed the Cowboys to move the ball quite a bit in the second half. The issue with their offense is going to be the issue that keeps them from winning another Super Bowl. I don't think they can go to L.A. and beat the Rams right now. Not with that offense. Not with the way that offense is playing.
No.
And not with the way the Rams offense is playing.
Saquon Barkley's lowest rushing total since signing with Filthy. In 2 games since getting Quinnen Williams, courtesy of Nick Harris, Cowboys have allowed 43 rushing yards on 19 carries to running backs. And you got to wonder, are these teams waving the flag early on trying to run against the Cowboys? The Raiders didn't try. Chip Kelly fired. And Pete Carroll fired no assistants basically throughout his time in Seattle. And then yesterday, they had a lead. You're up 21, and Saquon ends up with 10 carries?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
No. And you know what? I mean, it's like you also have Hurts who can run.
Yes. And I only noticed really one true design run for him.
That's it.
And the Cowboys did a nice job against it.
And it doesn't make any sense. Like if you have Jalen Hurts, you're in the second half, or not even the second half. Shoot, man, you got a 21-zip lead in the first half. You got a 14-point lead in the second half. Why is he not carrying the ball? It should be a steady dose of Saquon and Hurts.
Yeah, my big worry early on was A.J. Brown going off. I'm like, damn it, this is his game. This is where he's going to go ahead and get right
and they were
against
cooking.
you.
They were cooking, and I think that kind of tricked him in the second half to keep trying that. But man, I mean, like when you're up like that, the way they were, they needed like 2 more first downs. If they got like 2 more first downs, you know, they put themselves in a position where the Cowboys are really going to struggle to win this football game.
Quinnen Williams on the Cowboys defense balling.
I think the biggest thing, the defensive line kind of just told each other, man, we got playmakers in our room, and we got to go out here to make plays. In the run game and the pass game, somebody in the defensive line room has to make a play. And then Osa made one of the game-changing plays that he made. A lot of guys in that room made a game-changing plays. So it's super dope to be a part of an amazing group that we have. So.
More from Nick Harris, small sample size, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. But in 2 games since a busy trade deadline headlined by Quinnen Williams, the Cowboys' run D has allowed 30 carries for 90 rushing yards. Just one of those 30 runs has gone for 10+. Wow. And I got to say, and good thing Bobby's out today because he would want to fight, disagree, and argue, Zach Wilchuk taking a half a victory lap last night in the post when he caught a lot of heat for saying that this is more about the players than Eberflus. He defended Eberflus a little bit. Well, now, as Jerry's been saying all year along with Steven, you got basically a new roster defensively, and we're feeling much better.
You've got 30% turnover on your defense, at least.
What are you noticing yourself about them? And
a lot of pushovers. Now the first drive, I thought, crap, same old defense. Secondary allowed the touchdown pass, 18 yards down the field, 20 yards. I was like, man, same old defense. But it appears they are not getting. I don't want to say out physicaled, but they're not just this team that you can just walk over. I don't see the Chiefs coming in here and putting up 30.
No, that's not happening.
No. Would it surprise me if the Lions put up 27? No. It's good offense. But it would also not surprise me if the Cowboys put up 35 on that defense. That defense can give up some big chunk plays. So I just think this defense now, they're not elite.
No.
It's not an elite defense. But it's not one that you can just come in and bully anymore.
And all we were asking for was
a little bit. Just a little bit.
Flirt with average.
Just put up marginal resistance.
First 3 drives for Filthy, 25 plays, 192 yards, 21 points. Their next 3 drives, 7 plays, 2 yards, 0 points. And this is without a crazy great pass rush. Schottenheimer said it. He was like, we didn't have that pass rush. Like, you still need some type of menace coming off of an edge. But right now you have it up the middle. So this can be a brilliant case study for that edge rusher versus that interior pressure. Do we have Mike in Fort Worth still with us? Mike has been waiting for a while. Mike, are you still there? You're live on Shan and RJ.
I am ready, boys. It is worth the wait on this fabulous Monday. Fabulous Monday. CD has no ID on his team. Let's get it out there. George Pickens is a dog. CD, we just need you to catch the ball, and I doubt he can do that. So we need to just move on from him.
Move on.
Or just move on or just, let him pout on the sidelines. Who cares? We got GP. Star up always, since he's hit the scene and forever, is Mr. Jerry Jones. Wow, every time I go to that stadium, it is complete euphoria. I'm elated. Even the cockroach Eagle fans that came in, they're wild because they know they have garbage back in Philly. And I just want to say that I'd rather be mediocre, and without Jerry Jones, we'd probably be the Cleveland Browns. So thank you, Mr. Jones, for your contributions. Keep doing what you're doing.
Mike, did you go to the game?
Yes, I was there. Field Club, baby, access.
Oh, big dog. Wow,
look at that.
Was it electric?
Oh, my God. My wife was there, guys. I got points. She looked at me. She filmed Dak score that touchdown when he ran in. She loves him. I was like, babe, think about Dak tonight. I don't care, but, hey, I'm loving it, baby. Thank you, guys. Jerry, thank you, everybody. I had a wonderful time.
Oh, thank you for the call, Mike. This is one of those games where, and we all need reminders here and there about the job that we have, right? We all become a little bit jaded. The barriers build up. Cynical. Yeah. What happened last night has the entire city, like all your friends who aren't diehard sports fans, everyone who was walking in to get their coffee, gas pumps, everywhere in DFW, everyone knows what happened last night. And we get to talk about it on the official station. Yeah. That's big time.
That's pretty cool.
And we're talking about the number one hot topic from non-sports fans today. And everyone is even in a better mood because you're getting some days off with the turkey and ham on Thursday.
It's like I've said this before. Tomorrow is the last work week of the year. Actually, I think it was Friday because some people were off this week. Once you get past Thanksgiving, it's Christmas. So we get to really relish in the final. We're in the final throes of the last work days of the year.
And you saw that a lot as the game went along. It was another not stable pocket for the Eagles. Now, it is true, earlier in the game, did I go back and count that Jalen Hurts had 8 seconds to just stand around because we got no semblance of pressure on the play? Yes, that is true. But I do think as the game went along, you started to cause a lot more chaos in the pocket, even if it didn't necessarily result in a sack, like when Jalen Hurts did his stupid toss throw that wasn't close to anybody, and you're like, I guess it's better than taking a sack. But I thought that was a big part of that play as well.
Oh man, yeah, dude. As the game progressed, this bunch got a lot better at pressuring the quarterback.
Yes.
There were throws very similar to last week when Geno Smith was like, I just have to get rid of the ball. Actually, there was one play specifically that was exactly the same as when Geno Smith just threw one out of bounds one time. And that happened yesterday. And that was the biggest factor, Kevin, in, I think, yesterday's comeback was the fact that they were able to do that. It altered the play calling for them. They couldn't run the ball effectively, really, either, against the Cowboys, they were like, we're not going to do it consistently. We feel like our best approach is to pass against this team, and that fed into the Cowboys' defensive front saying we can pin our ears back and go. So that was a huge benefit for this team yesterday. Was the pass rush woke up, and Quinton Williams a great addition to this, man. Like that push in the middle right now is really becoming one of the signatures of what this defense starts with.
Now, Jerry said something after the game that I guess I hadn't thought about in this context. I was just so freaking pumped that they won. Jerry said, I hope these fans are as proud of these players as I am. And so I thought that was interesting because we had talked last week, I think it's last week.
About being ashamed?
Yeah, exactly. And so when you tie for the biggest comeback in franchise history against your hated rival and all of that, are you proud of this team? And I promise you, we will talk about CeeDee Lamb. We'll talk more about all the self-inflicted mistakes that they had. But I see a lot of people from the 817. Yeah, I'm proud of them, especially because they were doing it for Marshawn. From the 214, you're damn right, I'm proud of them. They never gave up. And I just see a lot of people that were proud of the Cowboys for yesterday. And I think I am too.
I desperately want to know what Shoddy said at halftime. Like, what message was it that made that team go, you know what? We got 2 quarters, and we are within striking distance of this sucker. Because whatever it was, they looked like a different team in the second half. There were still some booty moments, but yes. Maybe it was the fourth quarter alone. They looked like a different team.
Except when Ferguson dropped the ball and then it rolled out of bounds, and I was like, oh, dear God.
Yeah, that was... So that was... They look like a different team. I really want to know what was said at that point.
By the way...
I am proud of what they did.
Corey, if you want, from the 251, we have a listener from Switzerland right now. And that's freaking awesome.
I need to mark that on the list now. So
That's
Japan,
true.
Switzerland, England, Germany.
Do you think they are indifferent about the game? They just don't want to really pick a side. They're like, hey, not screw you guys, because you're going to deal with this even more if you don't pretend.
You just said that they're neutral.
Yeah, because they're in Switzerland. It's a very famous neutral country.
And whole cheese.
That's a good point.
And chocolate. Don't they have a good chocolate, too?
Yes, and watches.
Oh, and don't they have the good chocolate hot cocoa? Miss Swiss or something like
yes,
that?
Swiss Miss.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's good, dude.
No.
From the 682, I'm putting my ticket in for the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl.
Don't.
Paul Worth from Worth Collecting, he loves everybody, but sometimes he gets irritated at Cowboys fans and their excitement level over seemingly meaningless triumphs. And he sent me a text yesterday. He goes, here, I went ahead and did the work for you. And it was flights to Santa Clara. And I was like, well, hey, guess what, D? We already go there because of the radio station. So sarcasm rejected.
There are a couple things of note. Dak, congratulations on proving me right yet again. As Kevin, I feel like 10, 12 years ago, whenever his career started here in Dallas, I said he's going to break all of Tony Romo records.
And you've really seen like that pick up the pace in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it took time to get to this point,
Sure.
but he is going to be the passing king for the Cowboys. Now, very much like Tony Romo, he's missing something that puts him in the category of Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach.
Yeah.
His pursuit of it, though, I have no doubt, like that's what is on his mind, and that's his pursuit. When I hear Troy Aikman talk about Dak, the thing that he always says is, every time I talk to Dak, all he is focused on is winning, and that makes me respect him because that's Troy Aikman's approach to this, right?
Yes.
So, like, that's that feeling. And then for the crowd that is in the listen, I know CeeDee Lamb struggled yesterday. For the crowd that is in the go ahead and trade him away.
Can't do it.
Because George Pickens is having the best season of his career.
I'm not here to dispute that.
I will say that three things are true. There are three great motivators in sports. Fun babies, revenge, which don't think that George Pickens isn't getting revenge on the rest of the league for not believing in him right now.
And the Steelers, he's probably enjoyed their
Yes,
fall.
he is. Oh, you got DK Metcalf? How's that working out for you? And contract season. I'm not saying that it'll never play like this again. I'm just saying, do not get caught up in wanting to keep a guy when he's having a career year in a contract season.
And the only thing I would say about CeeDee Lamb...
Keep it up, George Pickens. Thank you. Keep going. Be that teammate, dude. Be that guy.
You realistically can't get out of that CeeDee Lamb deal until after next year, and even then it's kind of a pain. I'm just talking about the boring financial dollars and cents of it all. Now, I want to go to Jalen Hurts, and I know there are a lot of people who believe that the Eagles are primed to fall apart. Jalen Hurts said, hey, man, we got to find a way to finish the game. We've got to find consistency in what we do. Definitely the tale of two halves. I think we would all agree with that. Actually, I guess maybe I would say the tale of 25 minutes and 35 minutes, right? Because you saw that little sign of life from the Cowboys at the end of the first half. And then I thought, well, the Eagles get the ball first. I'm sure they'll smash out that hope. And they definitely did not. And he goes, we got to own this one. Let it light a fire in us as a team and stay together and move forward. And I think that's going to be a really interesting part of the regular season. What happens to the Eagles from here? Is this like a galvanizing moment for them, like when the Rangers lost to close out the 2023 regular season? Or is this going to be the match on what feels like a soaked in kerosene stack of logs already that just sets that fire ablaze for the season? I don't know. I would love to see the Eagles collapse, but I don't know which way that's going to go.
Yeah, I mean... This for the Eagles specifically, that group has got to figure out why Jalen Hurts is not playing the best ball, playing ball that he was playing earlier. Is he not seeing it? Is the pressure? Is the offensive line giving him extra pressure that he doesn't need? Is it just the play calling that's a little bit different? There's a lot of things that could be problematic in that group. I think losing to Dallas makes that fan base want to fire Sirianni, even though he is where he is at the moment. They're like, get rid of him, he's a bum. And you're like, he's got you to this point right now. You're going to win the division.
Right.
And they're like, I don't care. He didn't beat Dallas. And like that's the vibe that is going to be going on, not only on the media up there and the fan base. They're going to trash everything because they lost to Dallas.
Sure.
That's how concerned they are. That's how little brother syndrome they have, is that they're like, oh my gosh. So whenever that's going to be, I don't know that it's going to burn this thing down. But that team isn't perfect. And no team in the NFC right now is perfect. There's not a team in the NFL. By the way, Kevin, I just saw Ian Rappaport say Trey Smith, guard for the Chiefs, is ruled out for the game on Thursday.
Man.
That could be a positive for the Cowboys.
That's 3 in a row that you've caught a break on the other team's starting offensive lineman. That is interesting.
Yeah, from the 4-6-9, Corey, the Cowboys need both receivers, so stop it.
And we can have that conversation another day.
What did I just say?
I know. I am with you on that. I've seen a couple of people say
Tom Brady's not very good.
Yeah, I think I'm indifferent, believe it or not, to Tom Brady, the broadcaster, because I don't always lock in a whole lot.
You know what he does a lot of, Kevin? He does a lot of offense, defense. Look at this offense, defense. It's like, do you know any of the dudes' names? Just give me one of the defensive linemen's names.
Offense, defense.
He's like 97.
Yeah. But a lot of people are crediting Schottenheimer and saying there's no way they think McCarthy would have been able to do that. And once again, if you're making the comparison to A&M, Carter has talked about that a whole lot. Elko is one of the reasons they won. Do you think that McCarthy would have won this game? I know that's like wildly speculative and we can't prove it one way or another, but a lot of people are like, I don't think McCarthy wins this game.
McCarthy was a player's coach because he cared about their health. The players did respect the fact that dude, like, he wouldn't make them work too hard during practice because they were checking the GPS on their bodies. I think that Schottenheimer has a true connection to these guys. And Kevin, I think that goes to what Tim Brown was telling us the other day. He knows that he needs to push a button this way because he's talked to this player enough.
Right.
I think McCarthy was like, my system. And I think Schottenheimer's like, I got a good system, but to get the most out of people, I got to know the people. And that's not going to ever change about him. He wants to know what makes them go. And what fires them up and what brings them together and how do I get these guys to all pull that rope together? And I think that I agree. I think that whenever times are tough, you lean on people and what their emotions are and how you can use those emotions to go do something special. And whenever times were tough yesterday, I think he leaned on the ones that he knew he needed, and he called upon them, and they stepped up for him.
And then from the 817, again, we'll have this conversation more in depth later. Could you restructure CD and or Dak's contract to be able to afford Pickens after this year? I will tell you this. If the Cowboys want to keep George Pickens at the price he's going to be at, they can do so. So that's a positive. You know how we were talking about the stars and like if Jace Robertson continues on a tear and he's on a tear in the postseason, I am not entirely sure how they're going to be able to afford that. The good news for the Cowboys is if you want a long-term deal, GP, you can absolutely make that happen.
I would just say this, Kevin. One receiver has 42 catches, 573 yards, and 5 touchdowns. The other has 67 catches, 1,054 yards, and 8 touchdowns. One is DK Metcalf, and one is George Pickens.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to lie.
Now, DK has to play with Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. I get it. They're not quite Dak.
We are getting to the point where I'm really thinking about it, just in a bubble, in terms of this season. I'm trying to think if there's any receiver right now I would rather have on this team than George Pickens. And I don't mean long-term. I don't mean for the money. Nothing else. Just how he fits on this team. I think I might rather have George Pickens on this team than any other wide receiver
Jamar
in
Chase?
the NFL. That's right. just because of how well Pickens fits in this system. And I know people are going to get mad, and that could be an insane take.
18 hours later, man, still not quite totally believable that they pulled it off, a historic comeback. But, I think it's a clear sign this team is different. It's one thing to do it against the Raiders. They've done it against the Eagles. I want to open gauging what you guys think is going to happen next at 877-881-1053. Go ahead, leave your name and city you're texting from. We'll make you famous in the nation. What's in play right now? The division, I would say less than 1%. Playoffs, put it around 20%. This team's winning enough to believe they could beat Kansas City or Detroit one of the next 2 weeks, and then every other game's winnable. Like 5-1 down the stretch, I think at this point is pretty realistic. 6-0 long shot. Maybe the most likely is still 4-2 or 3-3. But this team is different, significantly different than what we saw before the bye. They could have run it up yesterday against the Eagles if they hadn't shot themselves in the foot, and certainly that counts against them. Like, foolish mistakes count against them. But this team's capable of being a playoff squad. That would not surprise me at this point.
No, I mean they could be a playoff squad. I mean they're playing like a team that has that opportunity right now, but at the same time they've just shot themselves in the foot so many times to start the season. The run that you have to go on now, even if by the end of the season everybody looks at you like, man, that's a playoff caliber team right there. You have to go on a ridiculous run right now. That's tough to imagine that they could actually pull off. But yesterday was special, and I don't know how often with how many other regimes you're seeing that, but you saw it yesterday, and it's exciting, big picture excitement. But I loved all the things that you saw in the second half yesterday, and like you said, had you not done so many stupid things to hurt yourself, how much different could that game have been? Yeah. Like, you could have really run it up on them pretty nicely.
Yeah, and, you have to wonder what's going on in Philadelphia. I think a conversation about the division has to begin with the Eagles are about ready to tap out. They're fed from winning the Super Bowl again, and they're having toxic chemistry issues. But it's doable for them because of what's left on their schedule. Like, was it Chicago? It's the Chargers. And is it the Bills? I think that's three very losable games they have now. Two against the Commanders. They're probably not going to do you any favors, and the Raiders are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. So, but they would have to lose those three, and you'd have to win out. That's such a long shot. Like, just to add that up, you trying to win 6 in a row on the money line when you might be dogs in 3 of them. That's tough. But I think based on how good this defense is right now, if the offense keeps humming along, I think they'll be in it. They won't be more in like a field goal underdog in any of these games. So let's see what the text is saying here in just a second. Brian, are you allowing your? I know you've been breaking down this film and you're in the moment, you're reacting to the game, but big picture, do you have anything on your mind other than wow, this team's turning it around and they're heading in a good direction for 2026? That's locked in.
Yeah, that, and I'm also looking at 30 college players and draft. So I in my mind,
I got 5 in, by the way, this week.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hell yeah,
that's what you got to do. There you go. I kind of feel like, to me, that I'm just looking at. I don't want them to lose games. I want them to keep playing hard. The draft position's fine wherever it falls. You got 2 picks. I think the damage has already been done, and I think this football team is playing better. I think defensively they're playing better. I think they figured out some things. I think the additions that they made, I think the young guys coming off the injuries have really, really helped them. They figured out a rotation of guys and how they're playing. You've got one of the best offensive weapons in football as a receiver, quarterback playing at high level. The offensive line, against a team that usually pressures. Didn't have a whole lot of pressure. As a matter of fact, you out-pressured them yesterday as a unit. So a lot of positivity, but I still think about losses early in the season to the Bears. Even though the Bears were 8-3 at the time, they were 0-2. I think about the Carolina game. I especially think about the Arizona game. I think those are the things when you go back and look at it, you're going to say, oh, well, ultimately this is the one that got me. But I am encouraged. I am encouraged, though, by what I'm seeing. I just think the damage was done way too early.
You're right about that, and that's why the division is out. Is it going to take 10 wins for the playoffs? Do we have a clear, accurate picture on that? There's 6 games to go.
Usually, you say 10 gets you in. In this one,
9.5.
9. 9-7-1. Could you get to 9-7-1? Could that do it for you?
You got
absolutely.
You got Carolina in front of you. They're in. I mean, right now,
and that's a big game tonight.
That's a big
San
game.
Francisco.
You're going to
Carolina.
beat the Vikings. You're going to beat the Commanders and the Giants. You got to win one of your other 3 games to get to 9.
You got to beat the Lions.
You got to, to me, because you've got teams in front of you. I think you got to try and take care of. I mean, you can kind of go head to head with the Lions. That's kind of the next one that you're going to have to deal with, and so. I think it's just like I said. It just too much. The early season was just lost due to injuries, inconsistent defensive play, not having good enough personnel. It just looks like it's too late. But I wouldn't put it past these guys to making a charge here. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Kansas City and see what happens at Detroit. But, these next 2, I think if you want to get in the playoffs, you got to win these next 2 for sure.
Officials might have stepped in late in that Colts game, though, to tip their hand on how much they're willing to help the Chiefs here to get in. That looked like a pretty clean tackle on Patrick Mahomes to me. But, hey, they're clutch. They haven't, not won playoff games in a decade, so the Chiefs are going to be tough. But, just how they match up, I think the Cowboys should have a decent chance. Short week, Kansas City coming to town. And if you win that game, then it's Detroit's the only real scary opponent. You get to host the Chargers. They're a solid playoff team, but the Vikings are falling apart. How about this? The 309 says the 5-man front is awesome. Yeah, the Eagles really struggle against teams that are going 5-man defensive line. They're playing zone, and they're staying out of nickel. If you do those 3 things, you really frustrate the hell out of Philadelphia.
What we talked about a bunch last week was the fact that you need to single up their inside guys. And that's what the 5-man line is doing. It's making Dickerson and those guys having to play one-on-one blocks, and that's been a problem for them. And so, when you watch the tape and all, I completely understand. I mean, the key sack of the game, the only sack that you had was you're running a twist game, and just Ezeraku's just effort to try and get home. It makes Landon Dickerson have to try and go take him, and Mailata just lets Osa run by him. And so, that's the kind of things you have to have. But if you could get Philadelphia where they're playing one-on-one across the board, that's a big problem for them right now.
903 says Trey Smith is out for Thursday's game.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen that. I saw
big.
He left yesterday's game.
High and low ankle sprain, and it looks like Guyton's probably going to be out too.
Yeah, Guyton.
So Nate Thomas would fill in.
Guyton's got an ankle himself. It's going to be tough for him to get ready on a short week. I mean, hey, guy's tough, but I would look for Nate Thomas to start at left tackle this week.
Chiefs, Cowboys, Chiefs, Thursday. What are the chances?
I think you're in for another really close game. I don't think the Chiefs are mopping the floor with anybody these days. And they just had a battle into overtime. That was a heck of a game. They come back and win in a similar sort of crazy fashion as you did. So I think it'll be a very, very tight game. And it'll be in the margins late in the game, very likely is what it's going to be. And the Chiefs' defense, I will say, that defense, especially in the second half, the way they were stopping the run of the Colts was huge, forcing Daniel Jones to really drop back. And there's a lot of blame going on in Indy right now with Shane Steichen and the way he called that game, especially late. But the Eagles' defense put the clamps on. And if that's going to happen again, and now they're in this sort of desperation, every game's a playoff game for them, it's going to be a freaking dogfight. And now I'm fired up. This makes Thanksgiving Day now really, really exciting because you have both teams that are in playoff mode right now.
Yeah, don't sell your tickets, hopefully. I think these last couple of weeks should have got Cowboys fans fired up to go to a Thanksgiving game. But
yeah, they can definitely win the game. There's no question. Now, I will say I thought the Cowboys would be able to run on Kansas City. And to your point, to hold Jonathan Taylor to 3.6 yards a carry was pretty impressive. I thought maybe that's what would be, to put the Colts over the top. Could they run all over them? They did a much better job with run defense. But, I think what the big takeaway for me is the Cowboys bullied Philadelphia at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
They have been a team previously that would be bullied. And not necessarily by Philly, but just by other good teams. all of a sudden now with this trend with Tyler Smith and Cooper Beebe and Tyler Booker and your defensive line with Osa and Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams, my gosh, Quinnen Williams, not only on the field, but it sounds like off the field, is having a massive, massive impact. I mean, if you listened afterwards what Sam Williams was saying and others were saying, Quinnen Williams had the halftime speech. Quinnen Williams was the one that went up and got everybody like, get your head out of your rear right now. Guys, if we want, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. And you're talking about his second game in a Cowboy uniform, and he's already setting the tone as I'm the leader of this football team on defense, which they did not have until he stepped in through those doors. And I thought maybe Overshown can be that guy too, but Overshown wasn't playing. So all of a sudden now, if you can dominate the line of scrimmage, that's what wins in January. And this team is capable of doing so. I think they got it's coach speak. They got to take this thing one game at a time. But they're capable now of winning every single game left on the schedule. It's just what team shows up, and you can't be having silly penalties to hurt yourself. You can't have Jadeveon Clowney lining up offsides on third down. I get it. Ryan Flanoy tipped that punt. That should not have been a penalty, but it was. You can't be throwing red zone interceptions. You can't be at the 2-yard line and have a false start penalty, and now you're back up and it's 3rd and 8, right? And now you're having to settle for a field goal, or you're going forward on 4th down, and now you're turning the ball over. Those type of things those are what bad teams do to lose football games. They've got to clean that stuff up. If they do, they're as good as anybody with the way they can play at the line of scrimmage.
I like that, as good as anybody. At 877-881-1053, 214 says, I worry about the Cowboys coming off a big emotional week versus the Eagles and then playing a Chiefs team on a short week. I get it, but the Chiefs are also coming off an emotional surge. And I would have been more worried had the Chiefs lost that game, Brian. We'd have been dealing with a desperate team theory.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this Kansas City defense, though, is different. They just have not been able to generate the pressures that they've had. They've even, like when they've blitzed, they haven't been generating pressure. So it'll be interesting to see how Steve Spagnuolo. It's another challenge for Dak Prescott. You get Vic Fangio this past week, and now you get Steve Spagnuolo. You're going to see some pretty interesting, maybe a couple of exotic looks that you might not have prepped for. Even on a short week, I could see Spags coming up with something to try and kind of slow Dak Prescott down a little bit.